Matt Bernier with the DRF Bets Race of the Day for Sunday, November the 18th, race number 7 from Aqueduct, 7 furlongs on the main track. It is the New York Stallion Series. Before we dive into the field, I'd encourage you to head on over to bets.drf.com or drf.com/bet, where you can get all the latest as far as details and offers are concerned. For new DRF Bets members, again, drf.com/bet is the address. Let's take a look at this field of horses, 3-year-olds and up, that will be going 7/8 of a mile. They're New York breds. You can find Formulator past performances for free over on the Race of the Day page on DRF.com. We'll take them right in post position order. The number 1 is Tribeca for Rudy Rodriguez. Just ran a couple days ago. Ran back on November the 14th. A solid second place finish. 3 lengths behind the winner. You can see a half length ahead of Benevolence, who will also face in this spot here. Concern I have, I can understand this horse is moving the right way, but there's really only a couple of races on this one's page that would suggest that he's a legitimate win threat. And also, the 4 victories to date have all come in gate-to-wire fashion. I have a hard time imagining this one is clearing off from the front, but at the same time, that inside draw, I don't really think there's much question. Manny Franco has to be aggressive, but again, at the end of the day, I'm not totally convinced that this horse is fast enough to make the front. The number 2 is Winston's Chance. Now, Winston's Chance is a horse that for the most part has been campaigned at Finger Lakes throughout his career, but twice has shipped into Saratoga and has won. One of those at 1 1/8, one of those at 7 furlongs. This is a very versatile horse. They tried to go to Belmont Park 2 starts back for one of the New York Bred Stakes races, the Ashley T. Cole. That was on turf, didn't work out, no big deal. Came back, won a State Bred Stakes race at Finger Lakes most recently with a 96 buyer. This horse, if you believe the figs, fits in here really well, and really, there's nothing to knock about him. He shows up, he runs his race more often than not. He's 8 of 19 lifetime. I do think he is a little bit interesting in a spot like this. Depends what you're going to get for a price, but I think Winston's Chance, if you're looking outside of the box a little bit, I think he's very intriguing. The 3 is My Boy Tate. My Boy Tate, for a little while at the beginning of this year, looked like he was going to be the boss of a division like this throughout the entirety of 2018. Unfortunately for him, he was laid up after his race in February in the Holly Hughes. Came back in August at Saratoga, and the race was fine that day in the Tail of the Cat. He didn't run poorly by any stretch, but he was beaten, defeated by 2 lengths. Came back in his next start at Belmont Park. Pretty disappointing in the grand scheme of things. Then he showed up in that Hudson most recently at Belmont. Blinkers went on. He did no real running. You have to start to wonder if we're trending the wrong direction from a form standpoint, but you do know he is one of the few horses in here. If he delivers his A game, he's probably the most likely winner in this race. It just boils down to, based on the form that he's in right now and the value that is unlikely to be there for him, you need to make the decision as the handicapper and the gambler. Is that something you're willing to take on the number 3, My Boy Tate? Number 4 is Loki's Vengeance. Loki's Vengeance is the first time gelding for Linda Rice. We haven't seen this horse since the end of April. That was in a State Bred Stakes race at Belmont Park, relatively close to the pace, really just kind of flat throughout and even, but granted, that was a much better field that he faced that day. I Love Lulu, the winner, was a next out runner with a 95 buyer. Pat on the back, we know what he's capable of. He came back and earned a 97, and Weekend Holiday came back and Weekend Hideaway, came back and earned a 92 in his next start. The question now becomes, at 7 years old, does this horse, Loki's Vengeance, still have the ability to register one of his best races? He has twice registered buyers in the sort of 92, 94 range. If he runs either of those, he's certainly in with a puncher's chance. Problem is, he hasn't done that since November of 2016. But that did come in here at Aqueduct, and he is 4 for 9 overall at Aqueduct. From a pace standpoint, why don't we take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector? You can see that Loki's Vengeance is sitting 3rd. My Boy Tate, who we just spoke about, is sitting 2nd in behind the 6 horse. That is Sudden Surprise. We'll talk about him more momentarily, but there isn't any real burner in this race. And while I'm sitting here saying I'd have a hard time imagining Tribeca clearing off to the front, if Manny Franco is very, very aggressive out of that gate, I do wonder if some of those other horses end up taking back a little bit and say, we're content sitting off of a target and we'll try to go on. If that's the case, perhaps Tribeca gets a little bit more intriguing, but they don't even have him listed in the top 5 on the pace projector. So it'd be interesting to see how that whole thing shakes down. The number 5 horse, Benevolence, is a horse that would appreciate a relatively hot pace. Going out from Michael Tenuzzo, this is a horse most recently ran a decent 3rd off of a little bit of a layoff, 2nd off the bench. I'd expect a forward move, but he is a confirmed 1-run closer, and you can see by his overall record and his body of work, 4 of 26 lifetime, 11 times 2nd or 3rd, 8 of those are 2nd place finishes. To me, he is that kind of horse that you're probably a little bit better off using underneath than necessarily keying on top. Sudden Surprise is the horse that Timeform US has outright on the front end. Goes out for John Toscano. Most recently claimed out of that N2X race where he showed speed and faded at the end. That was at 6.5 furlongs. I think he is better at slightly shorter distances. The 7/8, he's won at it before, but I really believe 6 to 6.5 furlongs is his bread and butter. He would appreciate some wet weather if it shows up. 4 for 7 lifetime on a wet surface. 6 times in the exacta, but he's just very, very capable. He's a blue-collar racehorse. 12 of 27 overall. From a speed figure standpoint, he may not be one of the fastest horses in the race, but if you believe that pace projector and you think he is capable of getting out to this distance at 7/8, then all of a sudden I think you have to give him a little bit of a look, because he, simply put, he'll have a major tactical advantage over the vast majority of this field. Number 7 horse is Gold for the King, and to me, he is strictly the horse to beat in here. Goes out for Charlie Baker. This is going to be his second start off of the bench. A nice rallying second most recently in that Hudson handicap as the 2-to-1 favorite. The thing that I find so fascinating about this horse, 3 for 4 lifetime at Aqueduct, never been out of the exacta in 4 lifetime starts. And go back and take a look. The 3 most recent times that he has come off of a layoff. His first race, decent enough. Far and away, the most recent start in that Hudson was the best that he has looked off of a layoff in his entire career. But the important piece to note, look at all of those races off the layoff and then look at the second start off the layoff. He takes a significant step forward. Go back to the Woody Stevens when he ran, take a second start off the bench, goes to Finger Lakes, runs a good second that day. Back in October of 2017 at Belmont in the Hudson, very, very flat, comes back in his next start in this race right here, and he wins by almost 8 lengths. And then earlier this year, he shows up in an N2X at Belmont Park, kind of flat, shows up in his next start just about a month later at Belmont, same level, goes off and wins by almost 6. To me, this is sort of a pattern. This horse clearly appreciates getting a race under his belt, and he takes a step forward. If he does, he's strictly the horse to beat. And the number 8 is Fleet Irish. Another horse coming off of a claim, this time going out for Bruce Brown. Most recently a winner, but with a very, very light speed figure, and it was against open $20,000 claimers over a muddy racetrack. If you get some moisture in the track, he'd appreciate it. At the same time, on his best day, I'm still not convinced he's as good as some of the other runners in this race. It is an interesting race, but to be frank, I think there is one horse that if he shows up with his best, I think he's just simply better than everyone else. So we take a look at my pick here in the New York Stallion Series race. This is the Sunday DRF Bets race of the day. I'm going to go with the number 7 in here. I just think Gold for the King, that pattern second off the bench, I think he takes a giant step forward in here. He has a little bit of versatility, but he's probably going for a little bit farther off of it. And he loves Aqueduct. He's 3 for 4 lifetime, 4 for 4 in the exacta. Gold for the King for me in the 7th at Aqueduct, 7-2-4-3 in the DRF Bet Sunday race of the day. If you're playing this race or any of the other races at Aqueduct, any race anywhere for that matter, go on over to bets.drf.com or drf.com/bet for all the latest details for new DRF Bet sign-up members. Scheduled post time for race number 7 at the Big A on Sunday afternoon, 3:47 Eastern. Good luck.